Welcome everybody, my name is Balaj and now I'm doing a rant about what Apple is great about and actually more of what Apple hasn't done yet with their devices. What is missing and what have Android smartphones done in the last year that Apple will never do. And actually that's one of the features I thought that already is in here that Apple I thought will never do is waterproofness. That's really strange that water resistance is something that Apple wanted for their phones. Now they have it, they advertise it, and I think they're just losing too much people to Sony and Samsung with all their water-resistant phones that work quite great when it's just raining, like right now, for example, outside, and you are afraid about your phone. The iPhone now has that too, and they also have two cameras, which Chinese and Korean companies did also for a few years now. Like for example, LG has that wide-angle camera on the front for selfie cameras on the V10 or on the back for wide-angle regular pictures or even videos. But here we have the zoom, which I think nobody has ever done, so that's kudos for Apple. But now let's go on with my list what they have never done. Or let's start actually with, for example, a simple thing that Sony, Samsung and even the Chinese companies like Honor or Huawei have done: infrared on the top. It's a tiny red or black little dot that you won't even see. It looks like a microphone, but actually it allows you to control the TV quite easily with a smartphone or the hi-fi system or anything or Blu-ray player that you have usually on your desk below the TV. So that's something that Apple could do, will probably never do. It's just something they won't do, like for example a radio chip. I cannot listen to my radio stations. I know the new Samsung doesn't have it, but all the old Sonys and I think also the new Sony still have radio inside, and it's quite handy. But since another thing, there is no jack port anymore. That's my third or fourth, I think on the list. So no jack port anymore, but without jack port, radio is impossible because we need an extra antenna for radio usually. Obviously, you could use the dongle that I've put inside the box, but they won't. Another thing, microSD. Yes, we have 256 of gigs that are available now on an iPhone, but still I want maybe more if I spend less on a phone. So if I buy just 32 gigs and I don't want to spend 200 something bucks more, and I still want more, I have to pay 200 something bucks more to get a lot more. And with a microSD you don't have to pay more than 100 bucks for an extra 256, for example. That's quite great. Thank you very much for every company that has done that. Apple still work on their price policy, please, but they will never do, because that's one of the reasons that they're so successful with the iPhones in terms of money making. Now, something that they could easily do, and I hope they will do, is now they have this awesome home little button which allows me to just double tap it, and then we have, for example, half the screen. That's a great gesture that can everybody easily remember, but what's missing is that you have great gestures like, for example, on an Honor or on a Huawei handy, where you have not only a button on the back that lights up your phone and you don't even have to press actually the button, but you can also just press the button on an Honor 8, for example, and a certain app will open for pressing it once. If I press it twice, there will actually be another app open, or what I can even do on some phones is gestures like swiping from the top to the bottom to get to the notification bar, swipe from the left to the right to swipe through pictures, and so on. So there's a lot of gestures on this tiny little surface here available that they should implement, if you ask me. So gestures like, for example, also Samsung phones had for a while, that you can, for example, just go over your hand and not even touch the screen. If you have dirty fingers or anything like that, the screen will light up. Or that you can do knock gestures on Huawei handies, for example, for taking a screenshot. So there's awesome gestures that are available, but not only gestures could be available, but for example second screens. You can see here a second screen on an LG X screen smartphone. Yes, there's phones where there's another screen right next to the camera. That's quite awesome because you can just see notifications, the time. You don't need a smartwatch, just look at your phone, and it doesn't even consume more than 1% power, I think, per hour. So that would be 100 hours, 4 days till the phone completely dies when you don't even turn on the screen anytime, any day. Another thing that you could easily do and won't do is dual SIM or even triple SIM or quadruple SIM, or actually just more than one SIM, because they won't sell you more than one phone. If you have a business phone and you have another iPhone for private use, then you have bought two phones with maybe really a lot of options when it comes to memory also on both, so they earn really a lot of money. If they just add another SIM card slot, you maybe won't be happy with the battery runtime also. Maybe that's one of the reasons also, because being available on two phones at the same time on two numbers needs double the antenna power for standard phone availability reasons. But yeah, there is no dual SIM, won't ever be, and yeah, that's also bad. Also, which I would love is NFC, but NFC like for connecting to Bluetooth speakers, and maybe Bluetooth to connect to other phones to just send pictures, not only between iOS devices, but sending a picture from an iOS to an Android device, to a Windows Phone device even. That would be awesome and great. That's missing. Also, there's no phones by Apple made yet that are completely proof of dropping them. There's a Cat S60, for example. There's the V10 by LG that you can just drop from above 3 to 4 feet and they will still live. Also, 256 gigs are awesome, but if I want to transfer 200 gigs at once because I want to add 3 seasons of Game of Thrones, it takes forever because it's only USB 2.0 still over cable on the phone. USB 3, there is phones with USB 3, please do USB 3. Also, Pulse, okay, we don't need that too often. The heart rate, Samsung does it every year, I don't know why, but I think they just like to do it, so that's something that is not something that I want actually, but what I love is, as you can see on the front, something is blinking in green, somebody wrote me on Facebook. Or if something is blinking in blue, then somebody wrote me on WhatsApp, here on the Samsung phone for example. Yes, there it's blinking, and so on and so on. We never have a status LED on here, and I know there's the flashlights on the back. I know that you can configure that, and now they have actually 4 colors, so they could configure even 4 colors for 4 different apps of notifications, but they're not doing it, and even if you configure it to flash when somebody rings you, it looks like a disco light because it's just way too bright. I don't want that. And I'm almost through. One feature that I already mentioned, obviously microSD, bigger space for less money is nice, but actually what Apple actually is still not first at and not the best at is just space on a phone. Maybe the iPhone is the first phone with 256 gigs available inside, I'm not sure if I'm saying the truth, but they're not the first with more than 300 gigs making available for the user. So there's phones with 64 gigs like the Note 7 or even any Samsung flagship phone actually that you can add microSD to, and then you have more than 300 gigs. Since 64 plus 256 is more than 300. Easy math, and that's already my easy and short little list about what Apple has never done, will never do, and I'm sad about a lot of features that they're not doing. But for example, getting rid of the jack connector for having it made waterproof, that's something I love about you guys, so continue innovating and forcing people to try new things. Thank you much Apple that you're doing that, but you could do maybe a little bit more of adopting really old features like radio into the new phones if there's space inside and the battery doesn't die faster because of that. Thank you much for tuning in. This was the Apple iPhone 7 rant or Android comparison when it comes to features in hardware and software. Till next time, peace and again. Thank you much for watching, and more videos on my channel obviously when you check all my above 1000 videos out soon.